Hello. Can you hear me? Hi everyone. Is my audio good? Yeah? Amazing, thank you. So, welcome. I am so pleased to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Today, I'd really like to tell you a little bit about some study techniques that will help you if you don't use them already. They will help you learn English grammar more easily. Let's just wait a few minutes before we start properly, because it's only just 10 o'clock and maybe some more people will join. Hi everyone. Oh, it's so nice to see so many people from so many different countries. Thank you for coming. We have people from Italy, from Colombia, from Brazil, from Australia. So nice to see you all. Serbia, Poland, Russia, Belgium, Lithuania, Argentina, Spain. So lovely. I'm in London, in case you didn't know that, where it is very cold, or I think it is 8 degrees today, and cloudy. We have Latvia, Morocco, Germany, Ukraine. So nice to see you all. Okay, while we are waiting to start, please make sure that you have got your PDF, which is in the description of the YouTube video. Oh, Poland is colder. Okay, fair. And yes, this talk will be available afterwards. So you just click the same link later and you are able to watch the talk anytime on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, everybody's saying that it is not very cold in England compared to their countries, which is fair, I know. Plenty of countries have much colder weather. Okay. Do you have your PDF? So in the description there is a PDF that you can download, which is a summary of what I'm going to talk about. So please make sure you've grabbed that. Okay, thank you, Kate. So, okay, what I'd like to tell you about today is something that feels very important to me, because I think we spend a lot of time learning all the information about English. We learn how to use the present perfect. We learn what this word means or this phrasal verb. Of course, these things are very important, but we often don't spend much time learning how best to study these things, how best to understand them, and how best to really remember them well so that we can use them easily when we speak. Because of course, the point of studying is to be able to communicate clearly, correctly, to feel confident when we speak English, and so on. And certainly in my school, we did a lot of studying of different subjects, but we never talked about really the best ways to improve our language or to improve any subject that we were studying. And so because of this, I find a lot of students, and myself too, before I started learning about this, we use methods that they work eventually, perhaps, but they are not the best way. And of course, if you study something and then you don't remember it and you can't use it, it's very disappointing. It's very discouraging. It's so much better when we put time and effort into studying something, and then we are able really to remember and to use that piece of knowledge. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So, first, first let me tell you a little bit. I'm going to talk for maybe 20 minutes. If you want to ask questions, please ask them anytime. I might not answer immediately, but I will try to answer when there is a pause. And after I've talked for a little while, I will answer any questions that you have until we run out of time. So I'm very happy to answer any of your questions during this YouTube Live. There are two parts to learning, and we often forget the second part. The first part is understanding. And of course, you know already that we need to understand something before we can learn it. There are different ways to understand something, and I have 4 tips for you today to help you understand things more easily. The first tip, and this is really true for English grammar, that is the idea that we can study the whole topic. When we see everything together as a system, it really helps us to understand something better. So it's often the case in language lessons that we do a small part of grammar. So for example, we do how to use the present simple. And then the next day we do how to use these prepositions. And these things are great, they're useful, but they don't stay together as a system. And so I find it really useful to see everything together. It's almost like having a map. If you've ever been to London, you'll know that we have the tube system. It's like the metro, and it's a very good system. You can use it to get anywhere in London. But if you use it and you don't know London, you end up only seeing small parts. And this was true for me when I first came to London. You take the tube and you just see one little area, and then you take the tube again and you see a different little area, and you don't get an understanding of the whole city. If you walk or if you take a bus, then you can understand how the city fits together. And this for me is really similar to studying grammar. We need a kind of map, a kind of system for the whole thing. And that really helps us to understand it better. So when we have summaries, when we have diagrams, when we have infographics, these are the kind of things that help us to get a kind of map of what's going on in the grammar. And English grammar, I know you don't believe me, but parts of English grammar at least are quite logical, and they really do have a system. And if you learn the overview altogether, it can help a lot. So that is my first tip. My second tip is about looking for really clear explanations. And of course this is true, but for example, when we write explanations about English grammar, we try to use very simple words, because if you are thinking about a difficult concept and you have to concentrate on the vocabulary, there's too much going on. It's easier for your brain if you just have to concentrate on the grammar concept. And so we try really, really hard to use simple words, and we rewrite our explanations again and again until they are super simple. And I find that a lot of grammar explanations are quite complicated. If you can find simple explanations, it makes it so much easier. And the last thing I'd like to say about understanding is the idea that it's very good to work in short lessons. So we can't focus on something hard for a long time. It's maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes is probably the best amount of time to focus on something difficult. It's great to build up the system at one thing after another, but it also doesn't help to spend 5 hours studying grammar. Please don't do that. 10 or 20 minutes, and then the next day 10 or 20 minutes. Short lessons. This is the best way for our brains to get to grips with something difficult. All right, so this is the first part. This is understanding, and probably you already understand a lot of grammar, and you've had much experience with reading grammar books, watching YouTube, listening to teachers. The second part of learning is something that I think a lot of people don't know about. And so they understand the grammar and then they forget it, or they can't use it when they speak. And this second part is making things automatic. In cognitive science, this is called automaticity. So it's the noun from automatic. And it means being able to use the knowledge without thinking. Thank you for the mini lesson, love, guys. I'm so glad you like them. And there are also 4 things I'd like to say about automaticity. The first thing I want to tell you about is testing yourself. So let's imagine you've read a grammar book, or you've watched a video and you understand the piece of grammar. That's only the first step. The second step is to put the grammar into your long-term memory so that you can really use it. And the best way to do this is to test yourself. If you read the grammar book again, that doesn't help. It's amazing because it feels like it helps, but actually it doesn't do much good. What to do instead is to test yourself. So this can mean doing an exercise without looking at the explanation. This can mean asking your friend to test you. This can mean using flashcards, which is one of my very favourite ways. This can mean doing some review exercises at the end of a chapter or at the end of a course. All of these are ways to test yourself, but you must bring the knowledge from your head and not reread or look again at the explanation. It's harder to bring it from your head, it's harder to bring it from your memory, but this is what makes the new connections in your brain. Okay, so that is the first step. The second step is to wait. If you test yourself once, that's great and it's useful. But the magic happens when you wait and test yourself again. In cognitive science, this is called spaced repetition. And honestly, it's magic. You test yourself once, you wait maybe 1 day or 2 days, and you test yourself again. And then you wait maybe 1 day or 2 days, and you test yourself again. And then again. Each test can be very quick, but this system of testing yourself several times, maybe many times, on the same knowledge is what means that the knowledge can become really, really automatic, so that you can use it without thinking. It's often the case that we understand something, but it's not automatic yet. You read the book, you think, yes, I know this, but when you're speaking, it doesn't come, and that's because we haven't practiced it enough. We don't have it automatic yet. So, test yourself, then wait and test yourself again. The next tip is like a little bit of an advanced tip. After the second or third time of testing yourself, is to mix up what you're testing. So this is why I love flashcards, and in all our courses we have flashcards ready, but I also use them myself, little paper ones, because it's good to mix it up. So let's imagine I'm studying the present perfect. I test myself on the present perfect, I wait 2 days, I test myself again. Maybe the third day I mix the present perfect with the past simple, or with something about prepositions, or something completely different, so that my brain has to work harder. And in this case, this helps us to do what we need to do in conversations. It means that we're using all this different knowledge, we are practicing it all, one after the other, mixed up, and this is so helpful, because later you need to use the grammar not in any order when you're speaking. You don't know what might come first, and so mixing up the tests really helps you to be very flexible with your knowledge. In cognitive science, this is called interleaving. Justina asks, should we practice aloud? Yes, if you can, absolutely. It's very good to speak the grammar aloud. But if you can't, that's also okay. You can do it in your head, or you can write the answers out. That takes longer, but that is also very useful because you practice spelling and so on. I don't know how to do it with subtitles, I'm afraid. I think we can put subtitles on for the replay. All right, and my final tip is something called overlearning. And this is another idea from cognitive science that has 100 years of research to back it up. And this means that even when you've understood something and you've tested yourself and waited and tested yourself again and mixed everything up, you should still sometimes test yourself. So overlearning is the idea that when you learn something kind of again and again, even when you know it, it will stay in your brain forever. Maybe not forever, but for a long, long time. And overlearning is why some of the things that you learned when you were in primary school are still in your head. It's because we learned it so well that we will never forget it. And so my advice to you about this is you understand something, you test yourself, you wait, you test yourself again, you mix it up, and finally, occasionally, you test yourself again, even on things that you think are quite easy. Maybe once every 6 months, maybe once a year. This is the way to keep this kind of knowledge fresh in your head forever. Because, again, we don't, or certainly I don't, and maybe you feel the same way, I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours and hours studying something and then 2 years later it's gone. I want it to stay with me, this knowledge, even if maybe I didn't have the chance to practice so much during those 2 years. If you occasionally test yourself, just every few months, it will stay in your head, it will get stronger, the knowledge will get stronger, and you'll be able to use it more automatically and more easily. All right, guys, that is the main part of what I wanted to say. Do you have any questions? So we have a couple here. Yes, so this lesson is available in a PDF. It's in the description. Thank you, Kate. So let me choose a couple of these questions to answer. Absolutely, we need to keep practicing. Sammy, why do people easily forget something they have just learned? I'm afraid this is just how our brains work. It's amazing. There's research that shows if you learn something, after 3 days, you will forget everything, maybe 90% if you don't practice. It's really, really important to practice, and the best way to practice is to test yourself. Okay. Accents. Is it possible to get rid of your accent? It's possible to get a very good accent in English. A native accent is very hard in another language once you're an adult. Some people can do it, but it's extremely hard. It's definitely, absolutely possible to get a clear, beautiful accent in English. That is absolutely possible. Okay, somebody says, Massimiliano. Sorry about my pronunciation. How can you have more practice if there's no good school in your city? So firstly, the internet. If you want to practice speaking, I recommend finding an online English teacher or even just an online person who would do a conversation with you. If you go to italki.com, okay, could you please put that in the chat? You can find native English speakers who would just like to chat with you. Oh, hooray! Thank you so much. My pronunciation was really not good there. Okay, the C1 course. Yes, it's coming. It's coming and it will be in the membership early next year. We are working on it every day. Thank you so much, guys, for all your lovely, lovely comments. Okay, Michael says, should the repetitions be done on the grammar only? How to manage repetitions in time and learn the present perfect, then move on to another. So I'm just talking about grammar today because of course my website is about grammar. But actually this method also works extremely well for vocabulary. And yes, I think it's great you study the present perfect, you test yourself immediately, you test yourself the next day and the next day, then you study the past simple, you test yourself once or twice, then you mix them together, you keep testing yourself and so on like that. All right. Yes, you can. So 2 questions about listening. Listening needs a lot of practice. So there are 2 things that you can do to improve your listening. The first is you can listen to a lot of podcasts, the BBC, anything that you like, that you enjoy. Just put it in your ears when you're walking or at the gym or anything like this. And the second way to improve your listening is a lot harder, but it really works. I call this mini dictation. We have 2 courses in the membership where we do mini dictations. It's where you take an audio, you need to have a transcript that's correct, and you write out the audio. So you listen to 10 seconds, you write exactly what they hear, what you hear, what the person says. And then you do the next 10 seconds. You need a very short audio. You do the next 10 seconds and so on. And then you check what you wrote against the transcript. And then you listen again, looking at the transcript, and you see what you didn't get correct. And usually the problem is that either you don't know enough vocabulary, which is quite easy to fix, you just learn those words, or you don't know how words sound when they are fast and together. And if you do mini dictations, you will learn how native speakers bash words together and say them differently when they're in a hurry. And so that method really works. You can do it, just get some audios. Podcasts are great if they have a transcript, or we have 60 mini dictations inside the membership. All right, so we've got a couple more questions. Resources about self-testing. So you can do self-testing with any grammar book or YouTube video. You make just work out questions for yourself. So it's and you can make your own flashcards either with using paper or using a free app like Anki, or you can paper flashcards or one of the free apps. There are many. Also, a lot of grammar books will have like review questions at the end, something like this. Okay. Oh, Marco says he has more than 10 of our flashcard decks from our courses in Anki. I believe you can combine decks. I'm not totally certain now how to do it because I haven't done that for a while, so I can't remember the steps, but I'm pretty confident you can combine the decks. Marco, if you can't work out how to do it, email us and we will work it out for you. We only have 2 challenges. There's 60 lessons because each challenge, the listening challenges, there was a question about the listening challenges. There are only 2 at the moment. Yeah. Okay. What other questions have I missed? It moves so fast. Sorry, guys. Feel free to ask your question again if I have missed it, because the chat moves really fast. I don't teach pronunciation myself because that is not my speciality, and I prefer to really stick to what I know. But many people on YouTube teach pronunciation really well. I recommend my friend English with Lucy. She has a really good pronunciation course. So, Massimiliano, have I got it right? He says, I tried to follow your free lesson about phrasal verbs, but there's no translation. I'm sorry, we try to teach in Easy English, and all our courses are in Easy English. The idea is that first we have so many people from all over the world that it would be very hard to translate stuff into all the languages. But equally, it's quite good for us to try and learn something in Easy English. And we try to make the explanations really, really simple. But I'm sorry if it's hard. If you have any specific questions, please email us or write in the comments inside the course and we will help you, absolutely. And we do have Italian speakers on our team. Okay. We're getting some more specific questions. Jose says, in the phrase English teacher, how can I know if the person is born in England or a person who teaches English? You can't. I'm really sorry. We use that phrase for both of those situations. All right. Yes, my friend is called Lucy, and if you... thank you, Kate. She's put it in. English with Lucy. So if you want to find a native speaker to speak with you, try italki.com. The link is in the comments. Okay, so somebody... I'm sorry I'm saying somebody. This is because I don't feel confident about pronouncing your names correctly and I don't want to get it wrong. Kazimierz asks, could you say what you think about shadowing as a technique? Shadowing is where you listen to somebody speaking English and you repeat it like almost at the same time as they are speaking, just a little later. I think it works for pronunciation, maybe not so much for other parts of English. We do have some summaries, Jaminda, on our website, perfectenglishgrammar.com. We have some free tenses summaries, and there are also a lot of summaries inside our membership. Yes, and as Kate says, we do have some mini lessons about phrasal verbs. Okay, Fatma says, sometimes we're afraid to talk because of the mistakes we make. How can we overcome this? So this is a hard one. I understand. I've made plenty of mistakes in other languages. For example, once when I was in France, I wanted to ask for a lollipop, a piece of candy, which in French is sucette, and instead I asked for a sock, which is chaussette, and that was not correct and very embarrassing. I really think the only way to do it is to do it. So practice first, use testing, use flashcards, feel confident that your grammar is correct or close to correct, and then we just have to have courage, because learning languages is scary sometimes, and I completely understand that. Just have to jump. Ali, we do have some maps of concepts on our website and in our membership inside our courses. I don't actually, and I'm sure there are many books that also have this, but nothing comes to mind. A free app. Anna asks, can you recommend a free app for flashcards? Yes. If you are technical, choose Anki, A-N-K-I. Kate, could you pop that in, please? And if you are not technical, choose Quizlet. Both of those are very good. Eleanor, thank you. I've got almost all your courses, she says. Thank you very much. Is it possible to make for phrasal verbs some pictures? Yeah, let me see what we can do. Send us an email and we will see if we can add something. Okay, people say, Selemana, people say that studying English grammar isn't a perfect way of improving English. Is that true? Okay, so I have so much to say about this topic. It is not everything, of course, but it helps. So when we speak a language, there are many different parts to it. Of course, we need to practice speaking, pronunciation, we need to learn words, we need to know how to read, all these kind of things, listen. But if you want to speak and write correctly, in my opinion, studying grammar really helps. It gives you confidence, it helps you to understand what other people are saying, because in English we use a lot of tenses to convey meaning. There's quite a lot of research on how people who reach very high levels in languages do usually study grammar in a kind of academic way, not academic, but they study it properly instead of just listening and reading. And it depends what you want. Of course, you can improve your English by listening a lot, by reading a lot, by talking a lot. All of these things help. But in my opinion, a section of your time should be on grammar, because it really does help you feel confident and help you to speak clearly so that people can really understand you easily. And of course, if you want to pass an exam, you need grammar. Yeah, this is exactly, I agree with this comment, the Miss Natusik. Studying only grammar is also no good. It's nice to start with some set phrases, being able to have a conversation, but everybody here is way past that level. If you want to make your English super beautiful, grammar helps. All right, are there any other questions? Ooh. Sue Ali says, first of all, thank you for being the grammar teacher. Thank you so much. Any materials to learn more about Northern English and Scotland dialect? Interesting. So there must be books about Scots. Yes, I understand. I was born in Scotland, actually. So I understand this situation. Send us an email and we will think of some resources for you. Thank you so much, Alexander. Let us know if you need anything. All right, guys, do we have any more questions? Okay, how to speak without shame. I think I've already talked about that. Oh, wow. Carolyn says, I'm an English-speaking student of yours using the monthly payment system. It has made a significant difference in my grammar. Your lessons are easy to navigate and I'm finally learning. Thank you so much, Carolyn. It's absolutely lovely. Okay. So there are many good grammar books out there. You can find a lot of the information on our website for free. Of course, we also have courses. There's a great grammar book called English Grammar in Use, which is very good for like the basics. One day, maybe I'll write one. Oh, thank you so much. The Miss Natusik, I don't know what your in-name is, said she took the B2 grammar course. I'm so glad it was useful. Okay, so if I have missed your question, feel free to write it again because it really moves very fast. And thank you so much for all your lovely comments, guys, and for coming and hanging out with me. If you want to watch this again, you can use the same link, or if you just download the PDF, then you can have the summary of what I said earlier. How to get an overview. We have some summaries on our website, perfectenglishgrammar.com, and this is something we are working on to have a really good overview. But in our courses, we have this. Yes, that's absolutely right. Gregor's Advanced Grammar in Use is also good. Teaching grammar to children. This is interesting because I am teaching my son and my daughter different languages at the moment. I think it's best to save the grammar until children are a little older. I would only teach very simple things under 10 years old, say. I have two children who are 10 and 12, and we are now starting some grammar in French with them. And then, once they're 10 or 12, I feel like I use fun examples, but basically it's the same thing as with adults, just very short lessons, fun examples. Okay, the IELTS exam. Elena says, can you please advise something for the IELTS exam? So for IELTS, to get a good mark, you need to do practice exams. You can buy books of them, they're published by Cambridge, they're on Amazon. Do lots of practice exams. And yes, Irish is different. Irish English is different from British English. It depends which part of Ireland you go to, but yes, they have a different accent. Maybe try listening to it on YouTube. Some of the pronunciation is reasonably different, and there is some vocabulary. But Irish English it's probably more similar to Scottish English than, say, American English. But have a lovely time in Ireland. Oh, so nice. Cork, yes. The thing that's really interesting to me about the Cork accent, so this is a part of Ireland, is the way that the th sound is quite different. So you will hear people say tree instead of three, and so that is one of the biggest pronunciation differences. But people are so friendly there. If you don't understand, just ask them to repeat. They are so nice. All right. If you have more questions, you can always email us. Thank you so much for coming. We will finish now. I really hope this has been useful for you. I recommend testing yourself so much. You can do it in so many different ways, and it really helps. And if you are interested in our membership, so we have a lot of courses in there, you can just click the link and read about it. It's a monthly subscription and you can cancel anytime, and we have a lot of courses. If you are interested, and I hope in any case this has been helpful for you, and maybe we will do another one. Thank you so much for coming. Goodbye.